welcome back to another Supernatural review, and this is season 3 episode 9, Malicious something. I don't even know. I'll have it right spelled in this video. If you're new here to it, I'm doing a recap and review of every single episode of Supernatural, so let's get into it. Definitely one of these episodes you forget, and I don't know if I've ever rewatched it, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just there's nothing special about it. And when there's a show that has 15 seasons, so many great episodes, you can't just be okay. And this episode's okay. I wouldn't even say if it's necessarily good. I'm just gonna say it's okay. So what's crazy about this episode is that there's witches. And what's crazy about that is this is the first time we see witches. It's, halfway through season 3 and we're finally seeing witches. We haven't seen witches yet. And this is so crazy to me because witches are so common in the rest of Supernatural. I don't know exactly what season they become more common, but it's something it's wow, we haven't even encountered witch yet. We encountered demons pretty much at the start of season 1, and then we had vampires in season 1, but I feel demons and witches are a big part of Supernatural, so it's so crazy that we haven't encountered a witch yet. Obviously angels are a huge part of Supernatural, but there's a reason that we didn't see them until season 4, but it's just still so crazy. They did vampires, they do werewolves, they do everything. How have they not done witches yet? And then also this was how they did witches, also is kind of we'll get more into that. But I always liked witches in Supernatural too. I was okay, if I ever get the chance, which would never happen, and obviously it didn't happen, I would want to be a witch. I feel that, every single type of Supernatural show, Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf, whatever, there's always one thing that I would want to be in that show. And so in Supernatural, it's not necessarily a hunter or an angel or whatever. I would have wanted to be a witch. Witches were introduced in this episode, and the backstory of how witches are created is they're praying to demons. I don't even know. It's something where they're selling their soul to demons to have these witch abilities, and so then they go to hell. That's what it seems. But it's weird because we know in Supernatural later in the seasons that's not really the lore. I don't know if they really get into how people are witches, but when we talk about Rowena, I don't think she was making deals with demons and that's how she got her powers. And not all witches are bad witches or stem from hell. So it's just some of the lore isn't right. And so it's kind of crazy that I think they were okay, maybe it's time to do witches. Maybe it's finally time, let's do witches. And it's kind of weird that they had this be the first episode of witches, and this is how witches come to be. I think because we're in season 3, they wanted to do, and season 3 has been so heavily demons, they wanted to have it be with demons. Is that why? So I think they probably all had a few, not all of them, but maybe they had a few different ideas of the origins of witches, and so they went with an idea because obviously you research and there's different lores or whatever, so maybe they went with the idea with demons so that they could involve demons and have her be in this episode. I think the lore is a little bit different, and I kind of said this with vampires. I feel every vampire episode it's a little bit different, the lore, and it's something it's maybe this is one way that people become witches. I don't know. Obviously this demon is very, very powerful, but I think it was kind of interesting with the witches is that the use of hex bags, because that's something you don't see in a lot of witches lore, native use of that. And I think it adds this extra element of what the boys can fight if they can find the hex bag, because it's how do they fight people who have magical powers? It's a different level. Obviously it's different than demons per se, because I don't know, demons are short. At the end that demon was really, really strong. Ruby I feel is a little bit all over the place of what she wants, but kind of if you know what Ruby is and what she does in season 4, it kind of makes sense, but I can't, she's obviously lying to them and doing whatever else, so it's kind of weird that they're not being more suspicious. This is technically also the first episode where her and Dean meet, which is kind of crazy that they've never technically become face to face before. That's just kind of crazy. And it's also weird because they have this intense chemistry with them, he has with Kate, Jensen has with Katie Cassidy, that she doesn't have with Sam. And like I was noticing that, like, obviously in season 4 when Genevieve plays Ruby, like she has obviously chemistry with Jared. Like, you know, they get married. But it's kind of interesting that with Katie Cassidy, like this is the first time they meet and they have like really intense chemistry. I don't know if like Jensen meant to do that, because I feel like it was more like from him, or like I don't know what his game was, but it was I was noticing it. And at the end of the episode, she said like, yes, you're gonna go to hell and then you're gonna become a demon. It's kind of interesting. We're kind of getting into more of lore of like how demons came to be, and that makes sense. Like probably like it's all started with some human who made a deal with Satan, and so he went to hell and then he became demons. That's how people became demons. I obviously think Ruby's backstory, like it said that she was once like, you know, a witch, and then she went to hell. Like I thought she was like Lilith's child. So I think some of the lore is not right. Maybe I'm just confusing things. I don't know, but we're not supposed to know those things yet. So, but I think they also kind of wanted to have an episode where they were like, yes, Dean, this is what's gonna happen when you go to hell. Like you're gonna become a demon one day. Like it's, so I feel like having it be in this episode kind of made sense and like matched that. And I feel like they could have, if they went in the episode in another direction, like they could have found a way to say it, but like it did make sense in this episode. But again, like there was nothing exactly like special about this episode, and I was like, okay, this is how witches are introduced. But I feel like they really could have come up with a better idea. Like it just wasn't interesting enough. Like it just gets lost in these episodes, and I can't even pronounce this episode name. Anyway, but thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.